Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. A little different angle today. We had a couple folks reach out and say that the glare, and I've even seen some right here, and it's just the way that my darn windows are in here in the house. So until I fancy up the house and get some blinds on the windows, which kind of crazy, right? That you know I'm a bachelor there, you know, blind on the, or a shade on the entire place here. But anyway, you know you're a bachelor when nothing is dressed up. But anyway, different topic, right? Different video. What we're going to touch on today, guys, is this different angle to try to help that out, but also it's kind of a drawing video here too. I'm often asked this question, guys. I get this a lot, and it's a good question, right? Why do you have a stand that you're never going to hunt? So why do you make a stand assemblage? In other words, right? First and foremost, there's multiple pieces to this that I'll shed some light on here for you guys that I think will help everybody this time of the year. So the biggest thing for me is, guys, one stand. If you only have one stand, you only have one option, right? Then what happens is you get these darn trail cameras, get ourselves in trouble, right? They start giving you information. All of a sudden, you start cheating the system. He's daylighting this time of the year. It might not be the perfect wind, but I'm going to cheat it and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to be fancy. Well, guess what? Usually that's the end of that situation. And I don't want to see that happen for you guys this time of the year, because it's so important. Whether you're watching this from Central Kentucky, whether you're watching this from Northern Michigan, Wisconsin, or you're watching this from the Southeast, it's getting to be go time, right? So if you're in the Southeast, maybe advance this talk, like we always say, about a month out or whatever. And I try to make this real relevant for everybody, guys. It's not just a date to me. We just label it the pre-rut. So if you're watching this, take this into pre-rut. I'm not saying that this happens in the end of October and it covers everybody, because I'm not that channel, because I've got clients from all over the country, right? So just look at this as a pre-rut advantage video, not just a end of October video. And so let's finish that. You have one stand, has one option, right? It doesn't give you a lot of choices. You get yourself in trouble. What I see a lot of, and we're going to touch on this real quick, guys, what I see a lot of in Kentucky and Ohio is anytime that I see somebody taking corn in the inside, in the timber, putting corn there and putting a stand on it, it worries me, right? I'm not saying that there's not, sometimes you can get away with that, whatever, but if you're going in the timber to be kind of a secluded area to try to get that buck to daylight quicker, there's so many things, especially when you're in ridge country. If you put that corn there and it's somewhere to not just hold deer in the core of a property or something like that, if you put that corn there and you're going to hang a stand on it, you better be looking to the downwind side of you and making sure that buck can't get in there, because this time of the year, when those does start using that location, those bucks are going to start, more so than ever, start coming into that on the downwind side of it. Or they never come to it, they just scent check it on the way by, and it ruins so many hunts. So pay attention to that, guys. I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm not saying that there's not places around that, you know, there's a couple outfitters that jump out to me that obviously shoot big bucks over corn piles in the center of the woods, but it's risky business. Well, so that's a one stand, right? You get yourself in trouble. The wind's not right, thermals aren't right. I'm going to try to go hunt him anyway. So that's the biggest thing, right? One of the biggest things. The other thing is, guys, this time of the year, what you find is having a stand assemblage opens up, it's a law of averages, right? The more you have, the more chances. So what does a stand assemblage do, and what does it tell us? What it does for us, one, it gives us more options. Somewhere in that line, down that line of travel, on that promoted stand assemblage on off the promoted line of travel. So hopefully it's 360 degrees around the property, right? But the more contour that you have on a property, maybe you have two zones of circulation and then they connect. If you have options somewhere in that chain, when a buck of target, right, a buck of that you're seeking comes in, you have information, right? If you're only in one spot, this is what happens. So let's just say that let's just say we have one stand, right? And this buck is circulating. You have one stand, you know, one corn pile or one stand or something like that, which is common, right? And your stand is here. So this buck has 360 degrees around this to scent check that. He can use it on a north wind. He can use it on a south wind. He's got a lot of options, right? What we want to do is we want to take his options out. So by putting a promoted line of travel around the property, 360, let's just, because it's easy, right? Let's just say it's 360 degrees around the property. And then we're putting, I'll try to move you over here just a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. So that 360 degree line of travel, guys, and then what you do is let's just say this. So you have stand here, so which would be licking branch. You have one here, one here, one here. Let's just use this as an example, like mine, you know, it's about 60, 70 acres, something like that, whatever, common. You have the stand assemblage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6. Yeah, perfect example. So what happens is, guys, obviously your stands are out here, right to the outside. So we have different winds that we can hunt. So what we've done is we have 5 times greater the possibility of hunting that deer if we have a circulation, right? If we have a line of travel, whether that's built or promoted, you have 5 times more chance of getting information and or hunting him, right? What I see a lot of folks doing, especially up north, I see a lot of folks doing is setting here, especially anywhere, you know, but here north, setting up stands for west wind or north winds, and then just waiting to hunt them on that when the wind is good for you. But what if he's using that area is good for him and it's never good for you? How do you run into him? A lot of times you never get pictures of them. So what we're going to touch on today, guys, is a real eye-opener for a lot of folks when I'm asked this question. So on this, guys, if you have, let's just say these stands, obviously, let's just say this is north, right? This is south. What you have is usually, commonly, right, you're hunting the southern tier on a north wind. Somewhere here, so you can hunt this on northwest, northeast, or northwest, north, all northerly winds. You can hunt this northeast, right? So if you're here, guys, and you're getting information, this buck slots in, you're probably on a north wind, depending on the property. You might get him here. You know, he uses the line of travel. You might get him here. You might get him here. Here's the reason, right? Green is going to be the trail cameras. Your trail camera, in most cases, guys, we try to face them to the north, right? Because the less likelihood that the sun is going in shade and stuff like that, and the movement of the sun's going to trigger the cameras. So your camera, let's just say your cameras are here, right? Facing like this to the outside. That's how we try to promote them, so they're facing north. So on a north wind, it's good here. You're hunting this on these northerly winds, right? He's coming in here. It's good for here, or for him, and the camera's going to catch him. Has a potential of catching him, right? Because he's scent checking habitat or whatever the case is. It's looking in there. Herein lies the problem, guys. So if you have this promoted line of travel and you have the same situation, I try to hang the cameras so they're on the same side as the stand. But a lot of folks, in case something happens to them, right, don't have to cut the line of travel. A lot of folks do is they put that camera always facing north. So herein lies the problem. You put this camera here, put this camera here, put this camera here. These cameras are, let's just put arrows on them, right? They're facing this way. What happens is, this buck comes around, you got him on these cameras, now he's coming up here, and the wind is still out of the north. Let's just say it's a north, kind of a northeast, northwest wind, whatever the case is. He's coming up, guys. He's scent checking all of these areas from the downwind side. He's able to scent check those this time of the year, being proficient on his feet, putting a lot of miles on, right? He's probably, very well likely could be, unless you have a 360 degree camera up there, you're never going to catch him on the back side of that, because he physically doesn't have to touch that. He doesn't have to touch and feel that licking branch or that scrape that you're hunting. You never know he's in the world. So I always tell folks the goal is, right, to get him on all 6 of the cameras. It sounds goofy, but that's my goal. If you got 6 cameras, I'd like to get him on 6. Here's what happens though. Last year, I've got 12 cameras here, or 12 licking branches here on the farm. I got 1 buck in daylight on 10 cameras the same day. My goal is to get 12 daylight pictures of the same buck the same day. Now you know the puzzle's complete, right? But what happens is, guys, I've got that same buck multiple times, and I know darn well that he was up there, right? So this is how you, if you want to know he's there, you turn the camera around. Turn that camera around, you'll probably pick him up there, right? So here is what happens. You have to give one side of the farm to gain the other. Without a stand assemblage, you can't do that. You can't keep his mentality daisy chained to keep him circulating the farm. Because what happens is, let's say you just set the farm up for a north or northwest winds. You're hunting here, right? It's good for you. He comes in, he might scent check these spots and then be off to the neighbors and never circulate back through there until it's just a direct line of travel that you're hunting. It might be the next day. You know, it might be, he might have to go all the way back through. You might get lucky, but most of the time he's one way and he doesn't come back. That's why we promote the 360 degree option through a stand assemblage. It not only opens up possibilities for you, you are able to keep his mentality daisy chained to circulate him around the farm. So what happens is, guys, is this. You might get a buck that comes in, let's just say he comes in here, right? This is his area. He comes in here, he circulates. So he can go this way. What you're going to see in the stand a lot of times is he circulates around this way, and then all of a sudden he'll circulate back around, or he might go past this stand this time of the year, and a half hour later he comes back. Now you know that. Now you can look at your cameras and say, okay, the next step is, did I get him on all the cameras? So if just because you didn't get him on the north side doesn't mean that he wasn't there. So do you need to flip the cameras around up there? No, because you're not there hunting it. So it doesn't matter, right? You can't be there when he's there, so why worry about it? You know that there's a possibility that he's there. If you want to get a picture of him, that's great. I try to err not to get the picture of him with most folks, because if you know he's on the top up here, you're more apt to get yourself in trouble by going in there and trying to cheat the system, right? So that's another piece of the puzzle why we do that, right? So the biggest thing for me, guys, being the habitat geek, right? The biggest thing for me is what comes into play. Let's say I get him on camera 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of a sudden I get him back on camera 1. What happened? That's what I start looking at, right? What happened? So if you got contour, maybe contour led him astray. Hopefully he didn't catch your wind in that situation, something like that. But this is usually what happens. If you do have a potential to run a blocker or something like that forces him out, so he has to, like let's say right here, let's say he's all on the transition going on through here, and he gets here, but he's got a chance to scent check this on a northwest wind. What you do, guys, is you start looking at these 2 stands are the missing link, right? So I'm going to use blue here so it stands out on the board for you. What that tells me is he was able to read some. He was able to read some information or some bedding features or something like that. What it tells me is there's not enough bedding features, or there's a break in the habitat, right? So what you do is like here, if you can, figure out that he's coming through this part here, through the core more or something, and bypassing these 2 stands, which, like I said, isn't the end of the world on a northwest wind, because you can't be there to hunt him anyway, right? But if you want to, this is where you start looking at the end of the season comes, then you have that information. Okay, if he did it, he's probably not the only one that did it, right? So you've got multiple bucks doing that. Then what you start looking at is you start looking at running these blockers, right? You put some trees down in here, so when he's cruising through here, he's more apt to come up here, and it kind of forces him up to that location. That's one way to kind of, so maybe this is a big draw right here, and you can just fill that big ditch or that big holler with a bunch of trees, and you force him to go around it. Now he'll expose himself down here. So like I said, do you have to do that? No. because you can't hunt it on that side. Now, if you're, let's just say, so that's one example, right? How to get him on camera more. Let's just say you get him like this and a wind that you can hunt him, right? You get him on camera 1, he misses camera 2, and you get him on camera 3. But these are the same camera, these are the stands that you can hunt him on that northwest wind, let's say, or that northerly wind. That now I start really getting particular. This up here doesn't concern me a lot. This concerns me because what that tells me is there's a break in the habitat. So what I start doing, guys, as soon as the season ends, I go in here, I start looking at, okay, why on a north wind, what lacked here? Was a contour that brought him off? Usually what you'll find is the habitat. There's a break in your habitat. The habitat isn't as strong and something else was better that led him astray. Now, you can't change contour, right? If the contour leads him off, you don't want to block every piece of the farm's contour because you want it to be porous. You want deer to come in and out of your location. So don't shut every opportunity he's got off, because then you're creating a huge issue. The reason I touch on that, because I see that done. So get him at camera 1, get him at camera 3. What I start looking at, guys, is there's a reason. So what he did is somewhere in here, he went up through here, and it might be a dead tree up here, a big ash tree or something like that died, and there just happened to be habitat, right? There just happened to be habitat, and you're hunting him on these northerly winds, and you didn't build it or something. Maybe there's 2 or 3 dead ash trees up here. You know, that emerald ash borer went through and killed a tree and just let a bunch of sunlight in and created a bunch of correct habitat. So he came here and he just wandered up on the back side of these, because they don't know what are in these locations, guys. They just know they have to scent check them, right? For security reasons, and or start to implement the pre-rut and the rut strategies in. They don't know what's in there. It could be immature bucks, could be does, could be fawns. They don't know. They don't care. They're just going to scent check it to see. So it brings his attention up here, and he scent checks through here, and all of a sudden he shows back up here again, right? Because you're strong enough on your habitat in these 2 locations that brought him back out. What you need to do then is you need to enhance, amplify these habitat pockets in here. You have to look at these areas and make these better than what this is, right? So that's why you hear me not talking about just making satellite pockets, secluded bedding. If you never build, guys, buck bedding strategies this time of the year, we're going to talk about all this coming up in some videos. But if you go in, a lot of folks want to go in and they want to start building interior bedding as the first thing they do. Think about the bucks, right? This is the last thing on my mind. If this didn't just happen naturally, I'm not building those until later down the road. I'm building these first. My doe bedding areas out here on my food plot, these habitat pockets, stuff like that. Because what happens is, if these aren't strong enough and you focus on these, what happens is just what we explained. He's going to scent check them. He's going to leave the line of travel. So it takes 3 stands down to 1 or down to 2, or maybe not at all. So your stand assemblage goes down. That's the reason why we have a big focus on stand assemblage. So that's the reason, right? That's the reason we have these stand assemblage. It tells us a lot. It gives us a lot of things to work with. It keeps pressure off just one stand. It tells us where we need to build more or better habitat, what we need to focus on. So on another video, guys, we're going to talk about what plays into this time of the year of them internal buck bedding, that videos that you hear us talk about during the habitat season, all that stuff, right? We're obviously not talking about them right now or how to build them, because they should have been done already. But how do they play into this situation? If you are getting this movement and bypassing, it probably tells me that you went overboard in here and you didn't put much focus on here, or you just didn't do enough. You erred on the side of caution, which is way better than doing too much, right? So that tells us we need to put more focus out here. So you're doing more than just hunting a stand, right? Or you're doing more than just looking at trail cameras this time of the year. Because if you do get lucky, and hopefully you do, right, and harvest him, if that buck's doing it this year, guys, it's a blueprint, right? It's a blueprint that's kind of etched in the deer in your community. Learn from what they're telling you, learn from what they're missing. Then we know what to make better for next year. The problem that I see, it never gets fixed on a lot of farms. right? We have that information. We don't do anything with it. Next year's hunt can be even better than this year's hunt from the information that you're gaining on what they're telling you. Because if one did it, multiple will do it. So hope this one helps, guys.